to the Spirit's book, chapter 6, book 2, chapter 6. Today we are going to talk about funerals and the commemoration of the dead. Okay, it's a subject that we discussed on and off, of course, but this is a series of questions about it. So let's see if we can learn anything new, or we can reinforce our understanding of it. Okay, Philip.
320. Do memories of people they loved on earth affect spirits? Much more than you may believe. This memory increases their happiness if they are already happy, and gives them immense solace if they are unhappy.
Okay, so the remembrance of our loved ones that we feel when we go back to the spiritual world, it's a source of happiness if it's a happy memory, and it can be a source of worry or sadness if they are unhappy. So the spirits teach us that the grieving process is a natural thing that we have to go through. It's part of the dealing with the departed of a loved one. The problem is when we carry this for a longer time than we should, or we make it the only focus on our lives. That can really seriously affect our loved one that have departed. So it's important for us to understand that our thoughts about our loved ones that have departed can affect them both positively or negatively. So we should be aware of how we are thinking about them and what are we thinking about that. Okay. Next. Oh, Danny, yes.
This is something I always think about since we're talking about the subject. I don't know if I asked before, I don't think I did. For example, when someone very famous dies, like maybe Princess Diana, for example, or I don't know, George Michael or Michael Jackson. So it's like millions of people or thousands of people thinking about them or praying for them. So obviously that affects them as well.
Yes, but we are going to feel what comes from our loved ones. These famous people, of course, they will feel the sadness of the general population, but if they have the ability and the merit, they will be protected from these energies that can be affecting, because the connections we have with our loved ones, those are the important connections, right? If someone that you have no personal relationship is sending you any sort of vibrations, which is what happens with these famous people when go back to the spiritual world, they are less affected because they are not personal in that sense. They are sent to the image of the person, not to the person, him or herself, in a sense, right? So they would be less affected. Again, everybody feeling sad because Michael Jackson have returned to the spiritual world. Is he going to feel something? Yes, it's likely that he's going to feel something, but it's not that it's not the same as a personal relationship, because the personal relationship are the ones that are relevant and make the difference, both positively or negatively. And he's a case that you know, I'm sure there are very conflicting family thoughts there that reach out to him. But again, we have protection also in the spiritual world. If we are, you know, if we are in a good mental state and we are doing what is best for us and trying to help others, we can be protected from these feelings because we can vibrate at a different level that they vibrate. Okay, so again, it's a lot of details there. You know, it's not a clear-cut picture of how it works. It's a matter of vibration, it's a matter of connections, but depends on both sides a lot.
And that applies also for the prayers, like this protection, like when, because there's just sometimes just prayers, like together.
Sincere prayers will always help. You know, which is what we always say, right? So all those that were praying for Michael Jackson, sincere prayers of love and care, he would make a positive effect on him. Okay. And of course, those that we are praying, you know, out of formality, that have much less of an effect, like our regular prayers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And me, today I was listening. I follow in YouTube, I told already, Experience Almost Death. And the one lady was talking about when she was in a surgery, and almost death, and so she was attracted to the light, and another light bigger, and from the second light, a path, very colorful lights, a lot of colors. And she asked, they don't talk. She said that just when and think is a telepathic, and so they have the answer, and said what this colorful path means, and so she got the answer. Is the prayer for the people on earth for whom that is discarnated. And then she transpassed this light, and then another path with a lot of another path, very colorful as well. Oh my gosh, this is more colorful. What does it mean? And the answer was the prayer being answered. You know, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah,
yes.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yes. So of course I think about our spiritual, that we always, Chico Xavier always say, pray, always pray. Yeah.
In doubt, pray. Always helps.
Yes.
Yeah. Just talking a little bit about these near-death experiences, just to clarify something that is important, right? Something it's like dreams, right? When we talk about dreams, that we remember parts of it, and our brain connects the dots. It's the same thing with near-death experience. So the general experience is really what happens to her. The details that she describes, they may be right, but they may be some part of it, her brain connecting the dots of what she doesn't remember, because our brain is very smart in fulfilling the empty spaces of our thoughts. So, you know, so it's just saying that whenever you read some description of near-death experience, take it, the general idea as the reality, but the details maybe or maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, you mix with the dreams, with the wish.
Yes, exactly. So you know, you want to meet your dad that departed. You may imagine that you see someone, and you think it's your dad, and it wasn't really your dad, but that's what you want to think it was. So that can create a little bit of confusion. But the meeting with someone that you love and care, it's real. If it was specifically your dad, I don't know. in that sense, right? That we have to, we cannot read literally the description and believe in 100% of it, because part of it may be our brain trying to bring some memories that will be interesting, well, pleasing for us or something like that. But anyway, it was just a reference to also to dreams that what we discuss here. But they're very important. They're always important, these near-death experiences, because they bring solace, they bring belief. You know, you can imagine that Dr. Eben Alexander, right, that the neurosurgeon that had this near-death experience and wrote the book and became famous. You see how important he was, Dr. Eben Alexander.
Oh.
Yes, a brain neurosurgeon that like 10 years ago he was, according to medicine, he was dead. His brain had no activity in the sense of of how medicine understands and how he understood before. And he was having all this near-death experience, and then he woke up and he remembered everything. And he wrote a book about it, and he changed completely how he saw everything, which was, you know, it's one of the most important documents on the survival of the soul, because of who it came from. Someone that was, you know, that is a neurobrain surgeon that could describe exactly why he shouldn't be having this experience according to his previous understanding and thought, and describing the experience he was having. So it's an interesting book. What's the name of the book? What's the title? I forgot the name. The name of the author is Dr. Eben, E-B-E-N, Alexander.
Alexander, okay.
Now he has more than one book, but the one that is famous is the first one. I don't remember the name. Heaven. I really don't remember it. But Jussara is going to participate in February in a big spiritualist event representing Spiritism, and he'll be part of it, of the Menla Institute. And I'll advise you guys later as we get closer. But it's a lot of famous spiritualist people that are going to be present there, and he's the one of those that are going to be there.
Oh, that's amazing! So it's going to be in YouTube and
yeah, it's a virtual event. Yes, it's called the Menla Institute, MENLA.
Oh, Menla Institute.
Yeah.
Okay. Institute. Okay, that's enough. That's very. I'm obsessed about this because I love it. That was scared about death. Not anymore. People never without religion, and then suddenly became not about religion, became a spiritual more. Yes, it's amazing. So I love it. And beside the books, beside the other apostles, the scripts that were found in Egypt, in a cave, that's about some Tomé scriptures, and about Maria Magdalene as well. So Magdalene. So it's so nice. And then I understand why in Paris has a huge Magdalene church. Because she lived there, no? About her life, and she was the right person to substitute Jesus when Jesus died. And the history is amazing. I love this. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we had this past Saturday the live from the USSF. It was the Women of the Gospel, and they were to talk about all of them: Mary Magdalene, Mary, Mother of Jesus, and others. You can watch it on our YouTube page. It was very good, very interesting.
Oh, it's in a spiritual group.
The lectures that we have every Saturday by the United States Spiritist Federation, every Saturday 11 a.m. Yeah. The last one, last Saturday, was the one with the women of the gospel. We had 6 different people talking about different women of the gospel.
Ah, okay. Yes, I've heard about this as well. I have studied. I'll see it as well.
Yeah, it's really watching.
Yeah.
All right, let's go, Philip.
321. Are spirits particularly attracted to their loved ones on the earth on All Souls Day? Do they make it a point to visit people who pray before their graves? Spirits respond to the appeals of loving memory on that day just like any other. Do they visit the burial site of their physical body on that day? They visit cemeteries in droves on All Souls Day because they are attracted by the thoughts of a large number of people. However, each spirit goes there solely for its own loved ones and not for those who mean nothing to them. What is their form when they visit these places? If we could see them, what would they look like? The form and appearance by which they are known during their lifetime.
Okay, so first remember that Kardec was asking these questions in 1857 when we were still trying to learn how spirits behave in the spiritual world and how they look like and everything else. So this is very related to the very beginnings of understanding ourselves as spirits in the spiritual world. So there is this day, the All Souls Day, which I believe is November 2nd, right? That is the commemoration of the dead, right? And Kardec is asking if the spirits responded with in different form than other days, and the answer from the spirits is quite direct, right? Spirits respond to appeals of loving memory on that day just like any other. So to have special days to commemorate the dead doesn't make any sense according to the spirits. Any day that we remember them, it's important for them. They, of course, everybody goes to the cemeteries on All Souls Day to visit their loved ones, and the spirits will go there also if they want to be close to their loved ones and feel what their loved ones are thinking about them. But it's not that if there's nobody going there, that they're going to go there. They don't have any special attraction for the cemeteries, despite what the horror movies show us. Spirits that we find in the cemeteries are spirits that are attached to their physical bodies and for some reason cannot leave the cemetery and the proximity with their dead bodies. It has nothing to do with what we're discussing here. Here we're discussing spirits going on the cemeteries when their family goes there also. So every time someone goes to the cemetery to visit a loved one that is buried there, maybe the spirit will be there if she or he can, if it's in condition of. Remember that depending on where the spirit finds itself on the spiritual world, it may or may not have the ability to go to these places. And of course, if we could see them, we would see, and that we discussed a lot, we see what they look like, right? So Elmo always mentioned, if his grandmother appear in front of him, she's going to appear like she looked when, in a way that he remembers her, not when she was 20 years old that he wouldn't recognize her, right? So she has to appear as his grandmother, otherwise he wouldn't recognize her. So the spirits will appear as they look like, as a way of us to recognize them. Okay? Clear here?
322.
Okay.
Do the spirits of forgotten people whose graves no one visits visit cemeteries despite this neglect? Do they feel remorse or regret in realizing that no one remembers them? What is the earth to them? They are only connected to it sentimentally. If there was no affection for a spirit while it was in this world, nothing can attract it to it. It has the whole universe before it.
Okay, again, reinforcing the idea that the spirits are connected to us, not to places. It doesn't matter, where we are. If we are thinking about them, they will be connected to us. There is no need of cemeteries. There is no need to go there if we feel comfortable not going there. Some people don't like to go to cemeteries, and it's not really a big deal, because what is important is the remembrance that we have from our loved ones, and that remembrance doesn't need to go to be in the hospital, in the church, or anything specifically. Can be anywhere. Of course, sometimes people still need the physical places to be able to connect with their loved ones, and that's fine. If that's the case, then the spirits will connect to them in those places if needed. But in terms of for the spirit, there is no need for these places. Okay, that's the important concept that is important to understand, and that's why when you talk about cremation, that you are not going to be anywhere theoretically. If you throw your ashes are throw somewhere, it's not really a big deal, because your loved ones, as long as they remember you, you'll be connected to them, and despite your ashes not being scattered away, in a sense. Okay.
And João,
yes.
when the spirit is still attached with the
physical body,
not physical body, to the family, what should we do beside the prayers?
Attached in what sense? In an obsessive sense?
No, normal. Like my brother-in-law died 3 years ago, and I always do Zoom with my family, FaceTime with my family, and I was talking to my everybody together. And behind of my sister, her husband died, I saw him passing behind of her, like him normally. And then, what besides we pray, what could we do? Because he's still in her house,
Yeah, the question there is why is he there, right? Because is he there because he cannot move, or is he there because she doesn't allow him to move away from the house? There's always this, these questions, because, when we discuss, this is not an obsession, but let's say in an obsessive case, there are two sides of the obsessor, right? Sometimes the obsessor cannot move away because the obsessed doesn't allow it to move away. So, of course, prayer always helps, but the important thing here is for your sister to be, in a sense, free of the necessity of him being there if that's what she's feeling. And if she's not feeling that, it's important that she prays and asks him to go on with his life, because there are many things that he can do in the spiritual world, and he can wait for her there doing some useful work, because eventually she will go back there and she can meet him there. But spirits stay attached to what they feel comfortable normally, right? If he doesn't know anything else to do, he's going to stay around because that's how he feels comfortable. We need to help by sending prayers, by asking for assistance, and by not overthinking about them also, right? Because the more he's there, the more she's going to think about him. And that also can create a vicious circle that she thinks about him all the time. He doesn't leave. He doesn't leave because she thinks about him all the time. Or he thinks about her all the time, and for that reason, she thinks about him. That creates a vicious circle also. So again, it's a work that has to be done on a regular basis, in the sense of allowing him to move on, right? And to understand the reasons why he's not moving on, you have to talk to your sister and try to understand her side, right? Because sometimes she'll say one thing, but on deep inside she's thinking another, right?
Yes.
We don't know.
Yes, yes, and then she's very afraid about, because she lives by herself, you know? So she's afraid, and then she feels him inside of the apartment. And then I said, we have to pray, we have to do the Bible at home. You do together every Sunday. So you ask for the spiritual world to help us in everything. But
he's not there to harm her. He cares about her. But the thing is, you know, we have to move on. That's the thing, right? It's 3 years. It's time to move on. Yeah.
And he was very possessive, and he died in a time that he
there you have it. So he's the one that doesn't want to live.
Exactly.
Okay. So she has to convince him through prayers and through even conversations with him that you know, they have to move on. And she. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you said the possessive thing is what keeps him there.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what keeps him there.
Mm-hmm. I'll talk to her a little bit more about this. Poor girl. Her sister.
No, she has to convince him that you know, nobody belongs to anybody. Life continues. We're all eternal souls, and he has things to do on the other side that he can be more useful to him than stay there, you know, jealous of her, of every movement that she does without him being able to do anything.
Exactly.
Because it's really frustrating.
Yes, he doesn't want to move on. Yes, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you, João.
Okay. All right, next.
23.
Yeah.
Does a spirit derive more pleasure from someone visiting its grave than a prayer offered in its name by loved ones in their own home? Visiting a grave site is a symbolic gesture and a way of showing a spirit that it was not forgotten. As I have told you, the prayer blesses the gesture of remembrance. Where the prayer is offered is of little significance, so long as it comes from the heart.
Yes, whatever. We discussed that already, right? Visiting a grave is a symbolic gesture. If it makes you more prone to think about your loved one when you are on their grave, and then you can do a better prayer, fine. But is it really necessary? Not really. You can do the same prayer from home, in the comfort of your home, and have the same effect on the spirit without having to go through the trouble of going to the cemetery. But again, as long as we are doing a positive vibration prayer towards our loved ones, wherever we are, wherever we feel more comfortable in doing it, it's fine. It's the same thing as when we talk about, you know, do we need to light a candle to do a prayer at home? We don't. But if it makes you feel better, then fine, light a candle. But if you cannot pray without a candle, then it becomes a problem. Then you have to rethink what you are doing and your understanding, because if it helps, fine. But if it's a crutch, then it becomes a problem. Without a candle, you cannot pray, then it becomes an issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
324. When statues or other monuments are erected in honor of the deceased, are spirits present at inauguration? Do they derive any pleasure from these ceremonies? Spirits often attend such occasions when they can, but they attract less importance to those honors than the memory in which they are held.
Okay, so here's the different story, right? When we build monuments in the honor of the deceased, that's the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, and things like that, the statues in Central Park that you have of many famous people. depending on the level of evolution of the spirit, they are going to give more or less importance. It's always good to be remembered. It's always good to be honored for the right reasons, but the monuments themselves represent very little to the spirit if the memory attached to it is not a positive one. If you are building a monument just because you think it's your obligation to him or her because of some benefit you receive, but it's not really sincere, then it makes no difference for them. What makes difference for them is the memory and the intentions, the right intentions behind it. So again, I think this is more for us, the living, than for the ones that have departed in general sense. We are the ones that like to build these monuments, these statues, because it gives us pleasure more than to them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
325. What makes some individuals prefer one burial spot over another? Do they go there more willingly after death? Is it a sign of inferiority if a spirit attributes such importance to a material issue? Spirits who have preferences for certain burial places show a sign of moral inferiority. Why would the different burial spots be of a concern to elevated spirits? Aren't they aware that they will be reunited with their loved ones regardless of the location of their physical remains? Is it pointless to bury the physical remains of an entire family in the same spot? No. This is a heartfelt testimony to the consideration for our loved ones. It is of little importance to spirits. It is useful to people whose memory of the deceased is strengthened.
Okay, so the first question, you know how we choose our burial spot, right? And people go to the cemetery, choose where they want to be buried, and with the sun shining every day or facing one way or another. If we know a little bit about spiritism and our eternal spiritual nature, we know that this has very little importance, right? Because the spirit is not there. What there is the remains of the physical body, and then disappear. It's consumed by nature. So it is a sign of moral inferiority, as the spirits are telling us here. It's a sign that we give more importance to our physical body than to our spiritual nature. Because if we really understand the concept of our physical body being a cloth that we wear during our physical life, we should give it the same importance that we give to used clothes that we throw away, or we give to the poor, or they have no relevance to us any longer once they are of no use to us. But again, people still have these attachments to the physical remains, and they will go through these processes of choosing their places they want to be buried and things like that. In terms of having a tomb for all the family, right? Like you find in some places an entire family in the same spot. This is I know that cemeteries in Brazil is very common. You have these tombs that you have these drawers that you put all the coffins there of the whole family, right? So you go there and you have all the names of the family there. Again, it's of little importance to the spirits, but it's important for the ones that are left behind, right? I know my mom loves to go to the cemetery, always loved, now she can't, but used to go there to see the where her mother, her father, and then others were there all together, so she could go and she didn't pray because she didn't believe in prayer, but she would like to go there to be next to them. So it's more important for those that are incarnated and the spirits themselves. But again, everything according to what makes people feel better and comfortable with what they are doing, right? For the spirits themselves, once they reach a certain level of involvement, it is of no importance where they are placed, because they are not there. I was listening to a lecture yesterday about the controversy of the Jesus body, right? That Mary Magdalene went there and the body was no longer there, right? And the speaker, he was telling that, of course, Jesus as a perfect spirit had the ability to make his physical body disappear, because he knew that what would mean for his physical body to be left there, and all the commotion that would have caused. But he said, but if by any day they find, and also the physical body disappearing is the justification that the Christian believes give to the resurrection, right? The physical body is no longer there, so he can resurrect. And he said, so if one day they find the real tomb and find the remains of Jesus somewhere, in the event they do that, what we spiritists are fine with it, because we know that the physical body is just a cloth. But what are the other Christian religions are going to say about that? They are going to, it's going to create a lot of complications for the idea of resurrection that they have, right? And I thought it was interesting also, considering, an interesting approach.
But one thing that I because I still studying and I don't understand, like when Jesus show up after his death, the apostles didn't recognize him. And so, but because recognize him because of the way that he talks, he distributes the bread, because the manners, not physically. I don't understand why.
That it's not that the only one that didn't believe was what's his name, Thomas, right? What's the name in English?
Not Thomas, because Thomas.
The others very quickly accepted that he was him when he appeared in front of them, and when he did he ate with them when he appeared to them after his crucifixion, right? So he appeared in a close place, and they quickly accepted and believed. And that's the big question, why the apostles ran away on the crucifixion and then they became martyrs of Christianity, right? And he was talking about it, because when he appeared to them after death, he completely convinced them that there was a life after death, that they were eternal spirits, and that everything that he had told them was true. And that's why they became disseminators of Christianity, and they started working for him after he appeared to them as a resurrection, like the Christians say, but we know in spirit, as we in spiritists say. But someone appears in front of you, it takes a while, some time for you to fully understand what is happening, right? It's a shock. Even if it's Jesus, it's a shock in the beginning. But they accepted very fast, except one, the 11 that were there. They accepted very fast that he was him. Mary Magdalene was the first that saw him. he asked her not to touch him because he was still not prepared. But the apostles, he allowed them to touch him, and he ate with them, and he had, and then he appeared to the 500 of Galilee some days later, right? And that was his last appearance. He made a sermon to the 500, the so-called 500 of Galilee in Galilee, and that's when he finally left. But Jussara is going to talk about him on Sunday. I'm not going to.
Okay. Yes. That'd be amazing. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'm studying about this, but it's still something I don't understand. I look it up. Yes, I'll get there.
You should watch that series that everybody's watching about his life. That people are. I didn't watch it, but it's called the Chosen. I think it's a series on. You can find on your iPhone. I don't remember. It's a series about Jesus that was done. It has like 3 seasons, and it has passages from his life. Everybody that is watching, even spiritists, are really enthusiastic about it.
Yes.
I think it's The Chosen, but I don't remember if that's the name.
Okay. Okay,
I'm not absolutely sure that's the name, but you have to find it on your phone, it's on YouTube or something like that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jean.
All right. Let's go on, Philip.
327. Do spirits ever attend their own funeral?
No, 326.
Sorry. When the soul returns to the spirit life, does it find the honors paid to its material remains pleasing? When a spirit has reached a certain degree of perfection, it is no longer controlled by human pride or pleasure and understands their futility. Still, there are many spirits who take great pleasure in the honors paid to their memory. There are some who are disturbed at discovering that they have been forgotten when they first cross over into the other life. They still have not shed some of the false ideas they held during their physical life.
Okay, the more evolved the spirit is, the less importance he or she gives to the remembrance or how they remember that, right? You can imagine that Mother Teresa is not really concerned if we are praising or attacking her. She's doing her work in the spiritual world like she was doing here without much concern. Now, less evolved spirits, they will be more concerned. They will be more worried about what's happening, what's going on here, because they are more attached to the material things, to the physical life. So the importance of, and we're not talking here about family, okay, loved ones. We're talking about general. Let's say a professor at a college that goes back to the spiritual world. He's going to give much more importance if he's attached to physical life of how the college is paying homage to him, how his students remember him, than someone that is more evolved and that did the work, knows that he had done a nice work, and it's moving on. It's working now in the spiritual world in a much more productive way. So again, it is according to our degree of evolution, right? The honors paid to us and how we think about them. Okay, that's a good one.
327. Do spirits ever attend their own funeral? Very often, but they frequently do not understand what is happening because they are still in the state of confusion that usually follows death. Do they feel flattered by a large attendance of people at their funeral? This depends on the sentiment that has brought these people together.
Okay, so in terms of spirits attending their own funeral, we know that when we go back to the spiritual world, we are in a state of confusion, And this state of confusion may make it impossible for us to attend our own funeral if we are there somewhere that has no, we have no understanding of what's going on with us. We may, you know, if you think of the movie Ghost, right? When he went back, he died, he was killed, and he was still there watching everything that was happening. If you are in a state of confusion and you see this, your burial and you don't really understand what's going on, right? In the book I Came Back, which is not translated, called Voltei in Portuguese, he's allowed to go to his own funeral to give a report to us. But in the middle of the funeral, he's removed from it because the feelings that were from people that were attending the funeral were disturbing him, because some people really cared for him and some people that he thought cared for him cared very little for him. And they were discussing other things in the funeral and in the wake and the funeral. So it can cause disturbance. So a spirit can attend its funeral, yes. Maybe, and most likely it's in a state of confusion. And again, when you think about the funeral here in the US, that it's normally some days after the death, right? Sometimes 1 week after the death or things like that. It gives more time for the spirit to attend their own funeral if they are in good conditions. Funerals in Brazil is done no more than 24 hours after the death of the person. It's much more difficult for the spirit to attend, because in the first 24 hours, the spirit is a complete state of confusion. It has no ability to go to their own funeral. And when we talk about cremation, normally done at least 72 hours after, of course, the spirit wouldn't be there to see his body being burned, or he can be there just in connection with their loved ones if it brings some peace and some sense of happiness to them. Okay? Yes, Danny.
Like the example you gave with the book, it's not really, even if it's like a week after, like here in the United States, it wouldn't be so advisable for the spirit to attend its own funeral, right? Like for the same reason you mentioned about the story in the book, like not everybody who attends the funeral is there because it has a good feeling towards that person, right? Sometimes it's just an obligation, or hidden inside the person never liked that person or even hated it, or I don't know. Do spirits like who are protecting them might intervene in, okay, even if it's a week later, the spirits is in a good state, is like, okay, better not do it.
Yeah. Yes, it's very possible that if let's say André Luis, for instance, right? Even after the 8 years that he spent in the lower zones and going back to Nosso Lar, it took him the whole book for him to be able to visit his family, right? Because he was not prepared to deal with what was happening there. So he couldn't attend his own funeral. He had no idea what was going on with him. So, you know, depends on each spirit, and yes, depending the protection you have, you can be prevented to attend your own funeral for your own good. But also, if you don't have, you know, there may be a reason for you to attend your own funeral. There may be something there that you need to understand better, some thoughts or some vibrations. So there may be a need for you, because it will allow you to move on for some reason, right? So again, it's all different possibilities here.
So maybe learning the truth about people might be helpful, like
might be helpful, yes.
Right? So instead of carry on certain feelings towards some certain people that might not even care for them, might be a good thing.
Yeah, so let's say someone that you give too much importance on their opinion, and you see that their opinion is not very positive or negative, it's neutral, right? It's not, because if it's negative, it can create a bad connection. But let's say you care a lot about your boss, let's say, but to be someone impersonal, right? You care a lot about your boss, what your boss think, and then you go to your funeral and you find out that your boss was really different to you. It was just another worker. And it can allow you to move on from it because you see that it's not really important, right? I'm giving a silly example here just for you to see, sometimes it can be useful for you to go to your own funeral. Okay.
328. Does a spirit ever attend the meetings organized for the reading of his or her last will and testament? Almost always. It is God's requirement for the enlightenment of some spirits and the atonement of greedy and selfish ones. The deceased can evaluate the loyalty and affection people had for them because they can perceive all true feelings then. They are often extremely disappointed in witnessing the greed of those who dispute their assets. Greedy heirs are in turn punished in due time.
Okay, so that's an interesting one, right? If spirits attend the reading of their last will or testament. And the answer from the spirits almost always is very interesting, right? But again, depends on the condition of the spirits and the necessity of the spirit to attend, right? Again, what I gave you a silly example to Daniela on your boss and everything. So attending the will, it may be important for the spirit to truly understand the feelings of what they consider their loved ones. And it can help. Again, it can hurt, but it can help. Because if they see that, what they thought the family thought about them is not the reality, it can allow, in a sense, free them. Can cause more pain, but in a way you can, learning the truth can free yourself to move on, right? To continue with the different avenues in your life. And maybe you find the true loved ones that are able to express their love in thoughts during this reading of the will or testament. So again, the reading of the will, it was a formal thing at the time of Kardec. Nowadays, I don't know if it's that much. I know that many times there is not an official reading anymore. It's just the lawyer calls you and informs you, sends you a copy, and let you know what's in the will. So I don't know how it was in the time of Kardec, but it is interesting that yes, the spirits are present if it's useful for them, or as a benefit, or as they say, as a punishment to them and to those that stayed behind.
May I share something?
Yes, please, Paco.
Yeah, it seems to me that all these scenarios that we are posting here, they're all contingent upon the attachment that the spirit has with physicality. Because
yes,
yeah, what do I care whether that guy hated me or didn't love me at that level? If he hated me, okay, that's cool. I must proceed to forgive him. So what do I really care? I know, am I making sense that this is all?
Yes, but not everybody is able to do that, right, Paco? Some people are very attached to their relationships. Yeah. So some people are not able to forget. Some people are not able to forgive. Some people are not able to move on. So yes, all this is a lot related to our physical lives.
Attachment to the attachment to
Yeah.
physical life. Yes.
The general message here is, if we can learn something, it's not to give too much importance to what
Exactly.
others think of us. And there are more important things for us to do when we are back in the spiritual world.
And just
That
to
we
think,
shouldn't be giving too much importance to what's left behind.
exactly. And just to
Our
think
loved
that
ones will continue to be our loved ones.
and just to think that just like I'm departed from this dimension, I've already departed from many dimensions. Could you imagine that?
Yes.
So, if I'm going to be counting all those, it's like, well, I guess I'm looking at it now from 2021. They were in 1850. So, I guess I understand. But you got my point. You get my gist.
Yes, perfectly. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. All right, last one. We finished just in
329.
time.
Is the respect human beings have instinctively given to the dead attributed to an intuitive belief in a future life? That is the natural consequence. If this belief did not exist, such respect would have no purpose.
It's a beautiful question to finish the chapter, right? Because if we look at the history of humanity, right, since primitive beings, haven't we always paid attention to the dead? Haven't we always, throughout all the different cultures, pay our respects to the dead in different forms? And those, you go to the Native Americans, they have several ways of celebrating the dead. You go to the Eastern civilizations, they have celebration of the dead. If we didn't have an instinctive notion of a future life, if we had an instinctive notion of no continuation of life after death, we wouldn't be doing any of these ceremonies throughout history, right? The fact that we have done throughout history means that it's instinct, the belief that we survive the death of the physical body. Of course, many cultures don't know how, and that's why you have the Egyptians burying the pharaohs with all the food and everything, and the mummification, because they thought that they will go back to their physical body. And you have other beliefs that preserve the physical body or do things like that. Or some of the, I know the Vikings send them in a boat to the middle of the ocean, the sea, and then they burn the boat, which is a very interesting, beautiful homage to them. But in essence, the belief in the survival of the soul is what it's common to all civilizations, and that just proves to us that it makes sense that we believe after death, right? Our life continues after death, otherwise we wouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now we are going to return to the physical life next week. Okay, we were studying going back to the spiritual world. That's the discarnation. Now we are going to return to the physical body, return to the physical life. That's chapter 7. We start next Thursday. Okay.
Very interesting.
So what do we have this Saturday?
We're coming back to
Saturday.
Earth. We're coming back to Earth, you're saying.
Yes. This Saturday, we have a very interesting lecture study by Paulo Bispo and Rafael Rezende, the role of the spiritual body in disease and health, right? So what role does the perispirit has in disease and health? The processes, we talked about that, and we are going to of course learn a lot more with this lecture on Saturday. Okay, so Saturday 11 a.m.
Hello?
So we won't have any by the other 2 Saturdays. But for us, as GNY on Sunday, we have our special year-end lecture by Jussara. She's going to talk about perseverance of the worker. It's a beautiful lecture. I saw her giving this lecture before, and it's really it's beautiful. I invite you all this Sunday, 11 a.m. to join us for the year-end celebration of, unfortunately, we cannot have our year-end parties that we used to have, right? So we have
I know.
the lecture. Yes.
Well, next year we're going to have it. Next year we're going to have it double.
Yes. Next year we have double. Paco, thank you. So next Wednesday, book club, we'll discuss part 2 of chapter 2. Okay. That's Wednesday at 7. The Spiritism at noon on Tuesdays is suspended during December, comes back in January. And we are going to have our regular meetings on Thursdays and on Sundays and Mondays, because New Year's and Christmas don't affect our regular Sundays and Thursdays. Okay, Dani, yes?
It's chapter 2 of part 2. It's the reverse.
Oh, chapter 2 of part 2 of the book. Okay, the book is
part 2 of chapter 2
of the book Renunciation, right?
Yeah. So and the 29th no book club.
29 no book club, yes, but that we will advise yet. We'll still have next week. Okay, Zoraida, can you do our final prayer?
Absolutely, yes. For our spiritual benefactors, and most important, our Christ, who have come here in assistance to our lesson today, in the memory of the physical life. We are grateful, dear Father, as we return in this study group, understanding that one day we will go through our transition to the spiritual world. And this is so important for us to understand, to evaluate, study, and most important, to evolve, to understand who we are and where we're coming from and where we're going. We thank you for that, dear Lord. We thank you for the teachers that continue their dedication with us, giving us the classes and never giving up on us. We thank you for that. We ask, as this world is still going through trauma, the viruses that continue to spread, may we keep ourselves in prayer. Pray every day, asking for assistance and help and guidance. We pray for those that are in hospitals and hospices and all throughout this land that are going through so much. For those that have lost their jobs and are in need, if only for their needs, dear Lord. May you assist them and guide them with this struggle. We thank you, dear Lord, for our SGNY, for the United States Spiritist Council, the United States Spiritist Federation, and for our sister Jussara that continues throughout this globe, opening our hearts to Spiritism. May you guide her and assist her and keep her protected. We ask as we leave here today to continue throughout the week with our group of studies and return again next week. And most important, to continue our prayers. We thank you, dear Lord. And with that in mind, we ask permission to close this part of the meeting tonight. So be it.